Preparing. Okay, we'll just let this set up. Really have to get this back in the full screen. Second. Again, I'm failing at technology. Awesome. There we go. Okay. And now, Valerie, sorry about that, Izzy.
Hi.
This was just working perfectly. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, Izzy, I'm going to, why don't you just mute yourself because this is going to be on speaker view. And then if I ask one of you guys to join, then you can just unmute yourself. But Jennifer, you stay unmuted because we're going to start with you. Okay. So, hello everybody and welcome to today, anybody who watches this later. My mother has passed away and I do not have children, but I am realizing that I am becoming a tattoo mom now that I've been in the tattoo industry for 32 years and I've been tattooing for over 25, and I just started with my third career apprentice. So now I'm taking my third apprentice on, and I do believe that one of my divine assignments in life is to share tattoo knowledge and to carry forth the ancient and the sacred into the modern. Because one of the things that's unfortunate and unnatural about the modern, why isn't this on me? One of the things about, let's do this. Let's see. Let's try and get this right. I guess this is what we're left with for the view. Sorry guys, this is going to be what it is. So one of the unfortunate things about the way that the modern is going is we are losing our connection to the ancient and the sacred and the divine. And in order to change this, I believe that a divine feminine uprising is also taking place and possibly being suppressed by the fear narrative, and everybody has to stay inside and be miserable and don't be happy and don't have friends and don't hug your family. And there seems to be a real global attack at the moment on unity. And so a lot of us are being assigned to do everything in our power to create unity, to battle this divide, this division agenda that's going on in the world. Now, I am going to speak for what I believe to be the Divine Mother as my limited understanding, which is going to be very limited. And I believe that Gaia, Mother Earth, wouldn't appreciate what's happening on the surface right now. She definitely wouldn't appreciate all of the garbage and how all of the pollution and all of the just like our choices are not helping our mother. And on Mother's Day, I believe that it's time that we honor the Divine Mother and the Mother Earth. And one of the ways that I do that is through tattooing and through these types of conversations with people, because I believe that this is my soul work. Now, that being said, Jennifer, what does soul work mean to you?
I have been doing some sort of healing work for the last 20 years. Massage has always been a way for me to have someone have a captive audience for at least an hour. And one of the things that truly came through for me in the midst of COVID was being able to really dive a little bit deeper. Most of us don't take the time to sit and really truly listen to our own inner wisdom. And what I found through being in quarantine, being in isolation, and going through a body mind coaching course was that truly, even though I do massage and you guys do tattoo work, we're truly working with someone's soul, and it's allowing yourself to connect with your higher self, your higher heart, where the soul wisdom resides. Learning to listen to that gut instinct, which is usually your inner child speaking to you. Most of us in the Western society have we've been taught think first and then feel, where most of the rest of the world actually does it just the opposite. They feel first and then analyze their feelings. Um, we are, in my own point of view, and a lot of the teachings that I have gone through, is we're all connected. We are all one. That collective consciousness, that collective soul. We've all been here for as long as the universe has been alive. This is just a rental. We're all having a human experience, and some of the information that I've gotten recently was that we truly are souls having a human experience, and we choose to come to this earth to fast track, to learn more lessons faster. So when you're in a human form, we go through those universal lessons and those soul lessons, so that we can ascend to the next level. So for me is learning how to just be, getting rid of all of the distractions, allowing all of those false opinions of others and all of those dysfunctional generational issues that are passed from one generation to the next, to release those back to the universe, because we don't need to hold on to those. Working, the more that we work on ourselves and do our actual soul work, which means to get out of the head and come into a heart space, or live from the actual body. When we start doing that sort of work, we literally heal not only ourselves, but we heal 7 generations backwards and 7 generations forward. So whether you are whether you've had your own kids or not, I didn't have any children either, but I'm making way for my nieces and nephews who will have children, and the generations that come after me. Or if I reincarnate into another life after this one is done, then I get to move to the next level. I don't have to repeat the same things over and over and over again. So when we can truly get into the soul work, that's when we quit making those same mistakes over and over again. When we can start to learn to listen to the little whispers and the subtle little nudges, the little nuggets that we get from within us and from our surroundings. I always ask for grace and ease and billboard signs so that I don't miss what they're trying to tell me. When we can make those connections, you don't get hit by the Mack truck any longer. When you live an aligned life, when you're walking in your soul's path, your spiritual path, it is with ease and grace that you're able to walk through this lifetime. It's when we get stuck in our heads and go back to those limiting belief systems that stop us from living to our fullest potential. And so when we can let go of all of those things, and when we all work together on a soul level, we literally can change the world. It's not just about us, it's about everyone.
Yeah, I love that. Now, let me ask you, oh my God, 10 minutes, funny. Let me ask you, you said something about when we start to do the soul work.
Mm-hmm.
It's important because this is one of the reasons that I wanted to talk today about soul work, because I've been speaking and I've been very careful about speaking about the healing power of tattoos, because I had a feeling that people would want to copy that idea without understanding the depth of what that means. It sounds like a fun idea, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe you can walk that path unless you go through those dark parts, the Mac truck. Like, you don't get to just, I mean,
Right.
you know, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, definitely within the shadows is where you find the gifts. But like you said, you have to do your own work. And you might be doing work right alongside of your clients, which is perfectly fine, because I truly believe that everyone that comes into our life is there to teach us a lesson, and it's taking the opportunity to find out what they are trying to teach us, becoming really curious, getting out of our boxes, getting out, allowing our armor, our physical body to be released a little bit, or to soften, because it's really hard to make a soul connection if you're not willing to risk being hurt, risk standing in darkness, risk um, seeing what that person is there to mirror for you. Because normally, what we don't like about someone is a reflection of what we truly don't like about ourselves. What we love about other people are the things that we need to celebrate, usually about ourselves also. Everyone that we come into contact with usually is some sort of reflection of who we are. And it's super important for us to become really curious, why does that bother me about them? Why do I love that about them? Because it's just showing, the universe works in mysterious ways and gives us glimpses into the things that we need to work on, and also the things that we need to celebrate. We like to talk about the dark stuff. We like to talk about shadow work and things like that. But I think we have been so conditioned to that everything's out there to harm us or to hurt us, when in all actuality, if you take the time to get curious about events, what was the lesson that I was supposed to learn in that? What is the gift within each moment of our life? So when we can get to that space and not all of the garbage, the white noise that's playing in our head, when we can get out of that and take whatever situation that you're in and bring it down into a heart space, or bring it down into that guttural brain, and really become curious about, why did this happen? What is the message? And if you can ask those questions and then become silent, so that you can hear the whisper answer, so that you can hear the message that is there, that's when you truly start doing the soul work. And you'll also find that where you're at on your hero's journey, or your warrior's journey, is reflected within who resonates with you and who comes in. And then it also helps us to see where we're at in a vibrational sense, because the more you do the soul work, the brighter you become, the brighter light that you become. And then you'll have people that you're now shining flashlights on that will want to hide and run away. So be thankful when people leave your realm. It's okay. I've now learned to celebrate that. Learning how to become a sovereign being is so important in our life. And just being grateful for everything. Whether it's like, I am super grateful for the car accident I got into a month ago. It showed me a lot. I'm super grateful for the pandemic and what it's shown me about how resilient I am as a human being. I'm thankful for, my divorce. I mean, it's just, you can switch everything into a gift if you choose to. It's just, how long do you want to continue to play the victim? When you're in victim mode, you're not doing your soul work,
That's right.
truly.
Yeah.
So allowing yourself to go, no, I called all of this stuff in, and it might not have been in your head, but your soul did, because we had a soul contract when we came into this lifetime as for specific things that we're supposed to learn. And when you're so far off of your path, those obstacles that everybody gets so upset about, you can flip the script on that and say, thank you for that opportunity to be able to pivot.
Well, you have to be able to recognize that it is part of your soul work to do that. I think the problem with a lot of people is they spend a lot of time resisting it, and then they create stuff that, like, there's no depth and resistance really. It's just
Right.
it's a block. It's not a deepening of anything. I'm gonna ask you to unmute, Izzy, because I really want to hear what soul work means to you. What does soul work mean to you?
What soul work means to me. First, I'd like to say that when it comes to healing, and I'm sorry, I'm just getting my voice back after a few weeks of being sick. But I have to open myself up to something greater than me. And anytime I go into a session with a client, or even in doing my own daily work, I invite the Holy Spirit in to be with me, and I invite the angels in to be with me, and I go into prayerful moments. I find that is the most important thing for me to do on a daily basis, because when I don't do it, there's that constant outside battle. So soul work in that aspect is so much stronger for me. And I find that working with my clients and working with people that I love, it makes a stronger environment, a stronger process, and a stronger outcome. So in doing all of that, I'm the vessel, and spirit's working in me and through me. And that's the only way that I can respond to that.
No, that's really good. Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what I was feeling and what I wanted to roll into and talking about. The message that came through to me this morning was it's like we have to do our soul work before we can have any offering to anybody else. And it's just like that old saying, um, the purpose of the meaning of life is to find out what you are, and the purpose of life is to gift it, right? The meaning of life is to find, how does that go?
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, it's the meaning of life is to find out what your gift is, and the purpose of life is to give it. So but one does come before the other. So I'm going to pin myself here, and I'm going to talk about the message that came through for me today, the reason that I wanted to share. So not very many people have heard of the dark night of the soul. And I talk sometimes about, like, to become a healer, in the ancient sense of the word, you have to go through healing. You have to have been healed from something deeper than a physical wound, something very deep. I now like to call them initiations. I know a lot of people that I know call them initiations. So, for example, when I was growing up, my grandparents were alcoholics. So I had an initiation into the life of alcoholism. And then my mother and father had some times in their lives that involved drugs. So I received an initiation into drug abuse. So even before I was 8 years old, I had alcoholism initiation and drug abuse initiation. And then further on, once I was a teenager, I had a rape scenario. So then I had sexual abuse initiation. So any of your traumas through your life become initiations for what you have to offer later, because at some point in your life, you got to face that and you got to heal it. Sometimes we avoid it. I didn't start even looking at that stuff until I was well into my 20s. I lived in an ignorant state of mind, and I had a lot of victimhood because all these things were done to me, and I was a big victim, and everybody was out to get me, and whatever ideas that I had in my head that stopped me from just feeling it. Because as a 4-year-old child, you don't choose to have an experience with angry alcoholics. As an 8-year-old child, you do not choose to have an experience around drug addicts. So you either gotta, like in your childhood, so most of these things come from childhood just because we never really face them. And you can face them later as an adult when you have the wherewithal to look at it objectively. Until that point, it's just feelings that you're afraid of. So the dark night of the soul, as I have experienced it, came way later, when it was boom, boom, boom. All these things have to be dealt with right now in order for me to be any type of functioning human. So I had my first dark night of the soul in my early 30s, I think. But I do know that people will go through their whole life without ever facing the dark night of the soul. And back to what Jen said about your soul contract, maybe they will reincarnate to face that karmic debt that they've accrued, which is something that, if it is a reality, is not something that's understood by our society, right? Like, it's not something that we're taught. It's not something that makes sense. It's not something that's tangible. You can't pick it up. Like, I can pick up this coffee cup. But since I have always had a feeling deep within that I was going to bear witness to what I used to call the Great Wave. And there's even a book called The Great Wave about the way that the world changes every millennia or whatever. And I believe that that's what we're going through with COVID. And so today's a lovely day to honor that, because Gaia would have seen every single one of those, but we only have this limited little short window in the idea of reality, because our experience of reality is very narrow. And especially if we ignore those feelings that come up. So I had this idea that I was going to be an agent of transformation at some point in my life, and that I wanted to honor the ancient and sacred knowledge in tattooing, because that's where my personal love is. So that's what I believe my soul work to be. So I had to clear my karmic debt in my life and feel those deep, dark feelings and sit in my darkness for weeks or months at a time. Some people call it depression, but when you break down words, that's deep rest. It means that I had to withdraw and go into those deep places in myself that I would have rather avoided, but I wouldn't have been any type of healer by avoiding that. This good vibes only stuff is not realistic, right? So then when I faced that old stuff, then I became very alignment with, like what Jen said about you don't get hit by a Mack truck anymore because you've cleared that dirt out of the way, and you're more in alignment with, you can hear those messages when they come through. So you don't choose to learn it the hard way. Like I used to make fun of myself, like, I like to learn things the hard way. Now I don't. I like to learn things the easy way now, so that I can share this stuff with others. And I believe that that is the calling that we have from Gaia, from the divine, from God, Christ consciousness, whatever it is that we all feel and we all resonate with, but we interpret differently based on how we were raised, the culture that we were raised in, our belief system, what belief system was handed down from generations. But I believe that unless we grasp this element of the human experience, we are not living to any kind of depth. Like, if you don't know yourself, what do you have to offer? How could you even know what your contribution to this lifetime is? And we are right now in the middle of this global pandemic as a whole, facing, wow, what do I have to offer? What do I really want to do in life? What do I want to give? What do I want to receive? How do I want to experience life? And if you're the type of person, if we decide to share this later and you're watching this later, and you're the type of person to stay inside and wait for everything to go back to normal, I might not have good news for you, because I don't think that that is going to happen. I think that we are being called right now to create a new normal with the initiations that we have received in this lifetime, and then what we have learned from them becomes the defining thing for what we have to offer, is through our traumas, is how we receive our calling. And if you can't sit with those traumas, then how are you ever going to know yourself in that way? And we can't sit this one out. We can't sit this one out. I believe that if we have multiple lifetimes, this particular lifetime is about soul work for every single one of us. Some people will be sitting this one out. I don't know if they're going to be around for whatever new beginning is coming, but that is a whole other thing. And I might be wrong about it. We don't know. The thing is we're charting this whole new way of living and being with a very limited idea about what the human experience is. My invitation is to connect with the divine, the Christ consciousness, God, whatever it is for you, and ask, do I have more depth of being? And am I being called to share something that I don't even recognize yet? And how can I recognize that? So that was kind of what I wanted to share today. Now I am going to ask, let's start with Jen. I'm going to ask Jen to comment on that.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that we are in a huge shift right now, and more people are awakening. I think we're becoming more conscious of what we're doing to the earth, the new beings that are being brought in. They're the ones that, you know, we have to look out for the next generation that's coming. We need to do our work so that they can have the best life, you know, and then the future generations forward. Mother Earth can wipe us out at any time if we don't treat her properly. And I think she tried to give us a preview with COVID, before, you never know, the next ice age, or, you know, wiping humanity off the face of the earth, and then we've got to start all over again. I think that we all have responsibility, but I also want us to stay in our own lane and try not to create chaos so that we don't have to do our work. Because I see so many that bring more chaos in, because, like, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to help this person and I have to be here and here, and I have to be pulled in 16,000 directions, so I don't have time to do my stuff. And
Right? Because
yeah,
it's scary to sit with those things.
it's very scary, but it's super important for us to be able to ascend to the next level, is to actually sit in those feelings and allow them to take whatever course that they need to be, whether it is you know, being at home for a month and allowing things to just work its way through, but also know that you don't have to sit in it that long. We all have the ability to acknowledge those feelings to sit in it and find out what the messages are within it and then release it. We have the ability to rewrite our story. We also have the ability now in the age that we're moving into. We can cancel all of those karmic contracts that no longer serve our highest and greatest good. We can call in our ancestors and ask them to take those burdens that were never ours to take on. They would be so willing to take them, but they didn't realize that they passed them to you. So having some sort of ceremony with your ancestors and asking them to come forward and to take back their own burdens, releasing things back to the universe. There's so many ways that you can work, do the soul work. There's so many teachers and mentors out there. You just have to do a little bit of research as to who fits best for the work that you want to do.
Right. Everybody's at a different level. That's another thing. I had to
Absolutely.
It took me a while to get my head around the limited understanding that I have now. And I know in another 20 years, I'm going to have a completely different set of ideas around this. So
Right.
what you were just saying sounds really hippy, trippy, dippy to somebody who's never considered this stuff before,
Sure.
right? Now,
Sure.
I know Izzy, I asked Izzy to unmute because I know that she has more of a tie to Jesus Christ, right? Like you have more of a tie to like a religious stance on this. So your language, your set of ideas and values will be completely different than the stuff that we're saying, the hippy dippy stuff, right? Like, how do you feel about your own connection with soul work, Izzy?
Well, I am Reiki certified. I'm Reiki Master certified. I found that it's the terms that we use in many different ways. Christ-like, spirit, universe. You know, it's how each individual human being receives spirit. So I believe that we all suffer from generational curses, and that carries over into ourselves, from our parents, our grandparents, to our parents, to us, to our children and our grandchildren. And if we don't break that generational curse, it will continue on. And I think that in today's society, a lot of people are, okay, well, it's either spiritual universal or science versus a Christian-based type of experience in life. But in all reality, in my reality, let me state that, in my reality, it is just one God, and we experience that creation, but it's one God. He just has different names in my mind and how I live. So I do understand the Reiki experience. I do understand inviting spirit in. I have a name for my spirit, and I believe that the angels are there for us. And I believe when you ask an archangel in to be with you, that is a heavenly angel. There's a greater creator. There's greater something created this wonderful, vast universe. And I call him God, and I follow God in Jesus Christ. I know that I've seen a lot of wonderful things happen and a lot of really scary things happen, and herd mentality, where we're living in a pandemic situation, which I think has been, I know that has been completely overblown by the whole COVID thing is real. That's very real. But I think that government and society have put this entire world into a panic mode. And, you know, I'm just really sending out prayer, vibration, and just to people to just release that panic, because it's rolling over into all aspects of our freedoms, our religious freedoms. Sorry, somebody just walked in. My dogs are going to go nuts. But our personal freedoms. So I invite people today to look at the pleasant surprises in life, the little things that are happening, and just see how powerful they are. It's a gift. That feather that you see standing up just on its very tip with its full feather on top would be something that you would never ever find, but I found it. And just that call that comes in from somebody that you haven't seen, or that thought that comes in, that happy thought that comes in, those are gifts. And so the more we recognize those pleasant surprises, those pleasant small gifts, we realize how abundant they really are. And it will allow us to break out of this fear-based mindset that we're living in. So that's my message.
Yeah,
today.
totally. Snaps for Izzy. Totally. Beautifully said. You have a very graceful way of delivering these messages. That's awesome. And just finding that like unity in this time of division. Yeah. And then I feel like if you can, so we have an internal, I'm going to pin myself again here. Add pin, we have an internal soul work and an external soul work. And when we can connect with the external, it makes it easier to connect with the internal. It's like it goes back and forth. It's like we can see these little, think of people, hear from people, hear somebody in the supermarket just looks at you and says exactly what you need to hear in that moment, or you see a feather. That's a sign for me too. I love feathers. And then it lets me connect with my internal soul work that I have to do, which makes me connect with the external work a little stronger. And then I think that's how we strengthen the like our calling as well as our healing. Our calling as well as our healing. Yeah, what do you think, Jen?
I think, yeah, definitely. I think the more that we become soul aligned, our true purpose on this earth is revealed. You know, I thought that I was always that I had to always do hands-on healing. And then the more soul work that I do, and whether you call it the universe or God or Christ consciousness or whatever it might be, when or just that little voice, you know, inside of yourself, when we can start listening and aligning with that, your purpose can, it's really hard to explain it. It can narrow but broaden all at this in the same moment, because you get more aligned with the direction or path that you want to walk, and things that you thought were important to you previously, you're able to let some of that go. You know, I don't need all of the bells and whistles anymore. I can live a more purposeful life with not trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know, I try and wake up every morning and go, what do I need today? And if that's a day of rest, then it's a day of rest. And if somebody pops into my head, I know not to discount that. Usually that means that our higher selves have connected somewhere and they just need me to reach out, you know, whatever it might be. And just allowing yourself to listen to those gut feelings. I would invite everybody to pay a little bit more attention to that, and don't try and shake the 8 ball more than once because you didn't like the answer that you got.
Oh my God, I was classic for that. 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3.
Right. No, you got.
And then the last one would always be, it's not looking good for you.
So quit shaking the magic 8 ball. You already have the answer right there. And because we have to not look for so much outside validation. If that's the one of the biggest takeaways that someone can receive, if that's the one gift that I can give to everybody today, is quit looking for outside validation. You have all of the wisdom and the knowledge within you. It's just learning to trust it. We've never really learned how to trust ourselves. I mean, from birth until we're 18, someone else is telling us what to do all the time, and we don't understand. We're trying to figure out who we are, but there's always this outside influence, and learning how to be okay with knowing that you've got yourself is one of the biggest gifts that you can truly give yourself. When I'm working with clients, and whether it's through massage or doing body mind coaching, or they're just coming in for a spiritual, a bigger connection with their spiritual side. Sometimes just asking the person, how do you want to feel? And they're like, I have no idea. No one's ever asked me that. What do you want to do? What do you want out of life? I don't know. No one's ever asked me that. So sometimes just giving yourself an opportunity to, ask that every morning. What do I need out of life today? What's going to fill my soul today? What does my soul need? What does my inner child need? How can I reparent myself? You don't need someone else to fix you. You have the ability to heal yourself. You can blame your parents as long as you want to, but when you finally get to a point where it's, no, I'm in control. I am the one that allows these feelings to happen, and doesn't want to let go of all of the baggage. I've got 50 years worth of stuff that I'm dragging behind me, and sooner or later you're going to get tired. Even though, yeah, cut those cords. We might start out with that cup, and it doesn't feel so heavy. But if you're carrying that cup for 50 years and it's full, your arms get tired, your shoulder gets tired, your back gets tired of, doing the same thing over and over again. So I invite everyone to release what no longer serves you, and don't worry about what anybody else says. That's their business. It's not even your business what they're saying. The only person that you truly have to listen to is your source, whatever you choose to call it, and yourself.
Yeah, okay, so this is perfect. This is a perfect thing for me to wrap this up on, because that's exactly it. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Move some faces around here. Okay, so that's exactly it. Now, I think one of the problems is most people don't know how to listen to themselves. And it's not a skill that we're taught when we're growing up. And it's one of the things that leads to victimhood, because if you don't know what you want, how can you expect to get it? And you won't know that until you sit with those feelings of what you don't want, without placing blame or projecting it on anybody else. So it's those moments of darkness and feeling the feelings that you don't want to feel, where you're just like, you got to sort through that. That's why these are so important. That's why it's so important to, if you're facing a dark night of the soul and that resistance is keeping you shallow because you're just so afraid of the depth of it, don't be afraid. The good news is you can sit with any feeling or emotion for 2 to 4 minutes. And if you sit in it for 2 to 4 minutes, anybody, I don't care who you are, 2 to 4 minutes, anybody can do 2 to 4 minutes. You are not going to die in 2 to 4 minutes. Something catastrophic would have to happen externally for you to not make it out of a 4-minute period with yourself and your feelings. And if you sit in it, if you sink into that depth and you sink into that darkness and you just face that feeling that you spent so much time and energy avoiding, there's going to be a gift at the end of it. cry. So crying is so powerful because you've been holding that feeling right here. And this is what leads to illness a lot of the times, is unprocessed emotions. You just got to feel the feels. You just got to feel the feels, whatever they are for you. Sit in it, you feel those feels, cry. The depth of despair can be the most liberating place to be, because once you release those feelings from your physical body, something shifts and you never got to face that particular feeling again. That is your key to freedom. That is your key to liberation. And that's why I like working with breast cancer survivors so much, because they have met themselves in that moment. And too many people haven't. Because if you have sat with yourself like that and you have developed that nurturing side of yourself, which is perfect for Mother's Day, a lot of us have had to parent ourselves and be in those moments without anybody to embrace us, and find a way to embrace ourselves in those worst parts of life. Myself, I've had this experience, which I'm going to choose to now call an initiation. And it's why I want to share it with anybody who might, this message might meet later. Sit with those feelings, free yourself of them, let them leave your body. If you stay with that feeling, that overwhelming, catastrophic feeling, something changes. You'll notice a different breath, where you're like, I've been crying so deeply that I can't even, you can't even catch a breath. And all of a sudden, something shifts, something physical shifts. It's a physical response to an emotional shift. And then you're like, and you can integrate that feeling. And on the exhale, you can release it. The gift that comes after that release is the awareness of the purpose that you haven't seen yet, because you've been so consumed by the dread of feeling that horrible feeling. As soon as you release it, it's like, this is what I have to do. The internal soul work is facing those feelings. The external soul work is sharing the gift. And you have got no valid gift to share, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, until you have felt that despair. You don't know that gift. You have to go through the little valley and come out the other side. So don't be afraid to do that, because as a collective, I feel that that's what we're being called to do. And that's why I wanted to share this message today. Nurture that side of yourself. It's usually an inner child thing. It's usually something like Jen just said, your first 18 years are spent being told what to do. So we aren't really asked what we want. So we have to teach ourselves that, which is fine. That's part of maturing and growing up. If you don't take the time to teach yourself that, then how do you expect to know it? And it's nobody else's fault around you. It's a mirror. If you see that in somebody else, it is a mirror. And just face that mirror and sit with yourself, and then find what your gift is that you get to share with the world. For me, it's tattooing. So my last advice, because I wanted to share this message more with my tattoo community, because that's what I align with. All of us do breast cancer work, and 2 of us do tattoo work. And in the ancient days, the shaman and medicine men and women were the ones who did the tattooing, and they did it for the purpose of healing in many cultures across many times. And that is what I want to inspire the future to embrace as we go into a new type of world here, where we're sovereign, like Jen said. We are the hero we needed. We are the hero that we needed, in whatever way, that whatever color our cape is. Not everybody's is going to be the same. Just sit with that. Dedicate yourself to excellence. For tattooing, that's spend the time drawing, spend the time practicing. If you feel like, I've heard a lot of people say lately they have imposter syndrome, and I'm like, yeah, well, because you haven't spent a lot of time practicing. It's not necessarily imposter syndrome as a reality check that you want to spend more time practicing. Imposter syndrome isn't something to avoid. It's the key that you want to spend more time practicing. And so my advice to the last 2 people that have said that to me is, yeah, do some free tattoos then. Then you get the practice that you haven't been getting, and then that's how you heal that imposter syndrome. The key to freedom is always in the problem. The solution is always in the problem. Whatever it is that you see as a roadblock is actually your secret route around the obstacle that you see. So I just want to say, spend that time with yourself, ask yourself those questions. And Jen said that too. Ask yourself those questions, allow those answers to come through in those quiet times. Like Izzy said, we have something bigger than us is wanting to guide us and love us. And whatever that is for you, because I know that the term God or Jesus has a lot of negative connotations. It doesn't mean it's a negative thing. However, some of us are conditioned to view it that way. So we don't want to limit this access to the divine that we all have by putting a name on it that some people might be turned off of. But the fact is, there is a creator energy that is bigger than us. Connect with it. Let it guide you. Let it show you what you love. Let it ignite that passion inside of you and that purpose. Because you can't sit this one out. We can't sit this one out, folks. We are here to create a better world, and we are being shown right now with this pandemic called COVID what needs to be healed so we can heal it. And nobody's going to do it for us. Nobody's going to fix it for us. So connect with the people who see it that way and offer your brand of perspective. Put on your color of cape, whatever that is. And don't be afraid to be the superhero that you are, because you've been initiated in whatever ways you have been initiated. I shared my dark parts in the ways that I've turned them into my initiations with you, because I don't want you to be afraid of your dark parts, and turn them into initiations and sit with them and ask those questions and wait for those answers, and put on your cape and go and be a superhero. And you'll see that there's a whole lot of other superheroes out there too. Turn your pain into purpose and live forth into your gifts. And I love you all, and thank you for watching.